The Keeper of the Flame by Krystal Meldrum. Far in the bitter north, there was a cold and stormy isle that rose from treacherous waters, where sinister mermaids called Sirens sang night and day. The islanders of Cottage Isle were accustomed to donning ear coverings whenever they went outside to keep from falling victim to the music. Their wee babes, too young to abide their bonnets for long, were kept snug inside while their mothers sang them lullabies. For Sirens sang beguiling tales of treasures found deep in the sea, beckoning sailors to Siren Island with stories of rivers of silver, streets paved with gold, and jewels as plentiful as pebbles. Their enticing tunes promised a man could fill his pockets and never need to work again. The truth, me friend, is that the Sirens lured men to their island to siphon out their souls and freeze their hollow shells within icy glaciers. Now and then, islanders found these glacial remains on the beaches and carried the poor beings to their cellars. Alas, none of their efforts could melt them. The islanders could only pray for the lost souls to wake them from their sleeping death. Although Siren Island was 30 leagues away from the isle, seafaring travelers depended upon a single lighthouse for safety. Between the siren's song, the storms, and the island's appearance, sailors could be deceived save for one thing. Cottage Isle had a lighthouse, signaling the one safe harbor to anchor. The lighthouse keeper, with his beautiful bride and their 7 strapping sons, lived down the road from the lighthouse they cared for. Life for the family was humble but good. It was bitter and lonely work refueling the lighthouse. They earned not but a trifling sum to keep the lighthouse lit, but they always grew plenty to eat and kept a warm fire. The lighthouse keeper, however, dreamed of a better life for his family, detesting the sailors who became wealthy from the sea, often complaining of his life of drudgery, promising that one day he would venture out and find the lost wealth resting in the isle's shipwrecks. The keeper and his wife often walked the shores at sunset, stopping to hold each other when they reached their favorite lookout. But as the wife held her lover, looking up into his eyes, wishing for him to kiss her, his sight was always fixed on the sea. She did her best to dissuade him of his plans, reminding him of everything he did for his family and of all the men who never returned. But despite her hopes that he would be content with their simple life, she could never get him to give up his desire. "I must go to sea," he finally told his wife after years of pining. "Do not fret, for I will fasten chains to my boat and lash a rope to myself when I plunge below. I will keep my ears plugged, and you will be happy when you see the treasures I find." "I am happy now," she told him. "You do not know how much happier you would be if you were rich," he insisted. "I am rich because I have you and the children," she replied. But her husband ignored her protests, kissing her briskly as he fixed the chain to his vessel and pushed out to sea. Each day, as he dove in the fathoms below, he learned to hold his breath longer and longer. His earplugs did not stay in as he dove, but he reasoned that one could barely hear the siren song in the deep. He always covered his ears when he surfaced, but the mysterious melodies haunted him. Each time the keeper returned to his wife, he adorned her golden locks with trinkets from the sea, and she was happy because he was home. She wished more than anything he would stay by her side, but he continued to travel further into the deep, bewitched by the treasures. In his absence, the wife and sons kept the lighthouse burning to light his way home. When he returned, ill-tempered and chilled to the bone, they would anxiously feed him warm fish stew and let him sleep. One late morn, the keeper brought home a heavy bag. His sons cheered with delight when he poured tarnished coins on the table. After polishing them, the keeper took them to town to measure their value. He returned, his countenance black as the abyss. "It's but useless jetsam," he growled, pitching a few coppers onto the table before slamming the door. After months of searching, he returned home with a coffer larger than he'd ever found. His son's eyes were as big as gold coins. Greedily, he counted the riches within. Swiftly, he made plans to seek for more. The very next fateful day, the keeper again set sail. A terrible storm arose, the likes of which have never been seen before or since on Cottage Isle. A whirlwind spun his ship, tossing it to and fro like a child's toy. With a snap, the chain securing his vessel broke from the island and whipped out to sea, smashing into the side of the boat with enough force to splinter the whole. As the boat went down, he wished with all his heart he had been content with the treasure he already had. When the storm ceased, the keeper could not see anything but the churning waters around him, and his ear coverings were missing, lost in the chaos of the storm. Floating in the flotsam, sirens found him, trapped in his tangled web of ropes and chains. Their song was mesmerizing as they circled like sharks. Helplessly bedazzled, he did nothing to stop them as they led him towards Siren Island and dragged him to their underwater cave. There was no gold anywhere, no jewels or rivers of silver, only glittering walls of ice and the forgotten bones of the dead. Alas, the sirens sucked out his soul, and he fell into the trance of the nearly dead. They froze his depleted shell in the glacier. On Cottage Isle, the wife kept the lighthouse burning bright, roaming the shores with her lantern every night in hopes she might see her husband's ship return. At long last, she found his body had drifted ashore, frozen in a block of ice. The wife and her 7 sons carefully placed him in the cellar. Every morn, the wife would sing him love songs as she looked for any sign of life. Days passed. In a stroke of good luck, the wife overheard a visiting sailor tell of a legend. If you dangled the sleeping dead inside Fire Island's volcano, the blistering steam, combined with fervent songs, could melt an ice-bound victim and reclaim the lost soul. So the wife sold their property, their home, their riches, and treasures from the sea, everything save the lighthouse, and bought a ship. Her sons manned the vessel, and they ventured to Fire Island. They procured a wagon and team to bear the keeper up the steep volcano. The family carefully wrapped chains around the ice and built a gridded platform to rest their precious cargo on. Steam hissed as the volcano's molten lava cauldron roiled below. The wife and sons sang, yearning for their father to be restored to them. Shortly, they heard a sound in the steam, a muffled humming. It was their father! 'Tis true, I say, that there was enough spirit in him that he began to hum in response. It was a miracle. The ice began to drip, and a crack split the mass. Suddenly, he sang. He looked up to see his family. They pulled him from the scalding steam, and he fell into their arms, weeping. He embraced his sweetheart. Oh, how beautiful she was, though she was now wrinkled and bent, capped with snowy white hair. He sang to his loved ones of sorrow and regret, begging their forgiveness and love. They held one another, feeling that neither words nor songs could express their joy. And now, me friend, they travelled back to Cottage Isle to keep the lighthouse aflame with gratitude for the rest of their days.